Mel Gibson just sounded the alarm with what many are calling his final warning, and people in the industry are losing it. What he's revealing about the Epstein Files and the circle of Hollywood elites is shaking the system to its core. The revelations are so wild, it feels like a real-life thriller unraveling in front of everyone. In just the last few days, the internet has been hit with a wave of shocking exposés. First came that explosive Diddy documentary, pulling back the curtain on his entire inner circle and sparking non-stop headlines. And right after that, the long-awaited Epstein Files finally dropped. The same files that many believed would never see the light of day. But here's where things take a disturbing twist. According to recent findings, what Mel Gibson revealed doesn't just connect the dots. It ties everything together in a way that's beyond unsettling. Those files were supposed to be completely redacted, with thick black lines hiding the most sensitive details. But tech-savvy internet users discovered something unbelievable. They could copy and paste the text and actually read what was meant to be censored. The cover-up completely failed, and now the hidden truths are spreading fast across every corner of social media. But that's only the tip of the iceberg. What Mel Gibson has been warning about goes far beyond just another Hollywood rumor. It's a chilling look at what's really happening behind closed doors in the entertainment world. The connections between the Epstein Files and top figures in Hollywood are enough to make anyone question how deep this web truly goes. Sources say that powerful elites are in panic mode, trying everything they can to bury the truth before more people start connecting the dots. What's even more shocking is that voices like Corey Feldman and Katt Williams have been sounding alarms about this same disturbing pattern for years. Now, with the recent leaks, it feels like all those warnings are finally being proven right. To really understand this, you've got to rewind the clock a bit. Mel Gibson has been calling out Hollywood's dark side ever since his early years in the industry. Back when he was just rising to fame, he started noticing things that didn't make sense. Secretive behavior, strange meetings, and a world that looked nothing like the glamorous image the public was sold. He was stunned by the double life that many in Hollywood were living, and when he tried to speak up, the response was brutal. The industry turned on him, blacklisting him and trying to erase his voice completely. But his past words still echo loud today.
This is a bizarre place. And it doesn't take very long, and I'm sure you've experienced this if you've stayed here for any length of time. You come in, you're fresh from the outside, you're off the boat, from the farm, still got shit on your shoes, you're in here, people are charmed by that, that you've still got shit on your shoes. They're charmed by the fresh approach you bring to it, and that's a real thing. But they're also stroking the shit out of you, licking you all over. And that's kind of good for you too. But it doesn't take very long before you realize, or before it gets to you. It's cascading on you all the time. You can't get away from certain attitudes, from certain modes of behavior that this town and the industry dictate. And no matter how strong you are, when you come in off the farm with those convictions and a certain line of attack, no matter how strong you are going to be affected by this place. I was in my mid-20s,
right,
the first time I really came over here. I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me. And I formed a bunch of opinions about the town and about the people in it that were like, surely that couldn't be, because a whole place can't be like, weird town, where the stranger wanders in and all the people are in the bar and they all shut up when he looks at them and they tell you don't go into the house on the hill. And it's like that. And then you go away and you think, no, I was wrong. I mean, that's insane thinking. I'm paranoid. I imagined that stuff. That couldn't be the reason for why so-and-so was acting like, could it? And then you find out later on the track that you are exactly on track with a lot of this stuff. Not specifically on track, but that some of your worst nightmares were real at the time, and you think, now this is what I mean by actually starting to swim up or downstream with the rest of the salmon. Eventually, if you stay here long enough, you'll find yourself doing that. There's a way of doing it without doing it, and that takes time, and it takes relaxation.
Not being uncomfortable about...
Not being uncomfortable, realizing it for what it is.
Projecting.
Understanding what it is. Once you understand it, well, then you're not afraid of it anymore, so you can just walk around it, through it, and then get on with what you tried to get on with in the first place. A place like this can humiliate you, and it can humiliate you, it can be humbling. I mean, it does rip your life to pieces.
Is it?
If you'll let it.
Yeah.
And it's always pounding at the walls. It's
Yeah.
like these little guys, these little heathens with no soul downstairs with horns on their head with a battering ram trying to like beat your walls in.
Mel Gibson wasn't always the Hollywood outsider people see him as today, but he sure learned fast how twisted the system can be. Even though this footage of him speaking out is old, it hits completely differently now, especially with everything that's come to light. He once described Hollywood as a bizarre world that doesn't take long to corrupt you. When you first arrive, you're still fresh from the outside, still grounded in reality, and people seem drawn to that energy. They act like they admire your authenticity. But behind the smiles, the manipulation starts right away. Mel said it perfectly. Newcomers are flattered, praised, and told they're the next big thing. It feels exciting at first, like you finally made it. But what's really happening is much darker. He explained how that same attention quickly turns into control, how the pressure and toxicity of the industry start crashing down on you until you're not even the same person anymore. Even those who swear to stay true to themselves end up being pulled off their path by the powerful forces shaping that world. And this is where things take an eerie turn. When Mel first stepped into Hollywood in his mid-20s, he started having strange, uneasy feelings, almost paranoid suspicions about what was happening behind the scenes. He couldn't explain it, but something about that environment felt off, like there were secrets lurking just beneath the surface waiting to be uncovered. There was so much happening around Mel Gibson that just didn't make sense. Strange behaviors, unspoken rules, and a lot of secrecy that no one seemed willing to explain. Every time he asked questions, he was brushed off, like he wasn't supposed to know what was really going on behind the curtain. Over time, those experiences started shaping his view of Hollywood, and the picture he painted was chilling. He once compared the town to something straight out of a horror movie, the kind where a stranger walks into a quiet bar, the music stops, everyone stares, and someone whispers a warning like, "You don't go near the house on the hill." That eerie, closed-off energy. That's how he described Hollywood. At first, Mel tried to convince himself that it was all in his head. He thought maybe he was just overreacting. Maybe his imagination was getting the best of him. But the deeper he went, the more he realized those uneasy feelings were spot on. The things he had once brushed off as paranoia turned out to be frighteningly real. He discovered that the darkness he sensed wasn't just rumor or exaggeration. It was part of the very foundation of that world. And what he said next stuck with people for years. A haunting reminder that his early fears weren't fiction at all.
Got full of the whole industry. I mean, it's a very strange place, Hollywood, but it's an odd place. And you imagine all these horror stories there that you think, boy, it seems as if I'm being sacrificed over here. No, that couldn't be true. And then you realize that it is true. And you have to, I just left for a while and took a couple of years off, bought a place down in Australia and started digging holes and putting up fences and birthing cattle and all this kind of stuff. And it was fun, you know, it was fun. It was great, and it was a good breather, you know.
Yeah, and then of course the comeback, what a comeback, Lethal Weapon. It wasn't bad, was it?
Yeah, it was all right.
Mel Gibson once admitted he'd had enough. He said he'd reached his breaking point with the entire Hollywood system. In his own words, he called it a very strange, odd place where you start imagining the most horrifying things, only to realize those dark thoughts might actually be true. He described moments when it felt like he was being sacrificed by the industry, and for a while, he tried convincing himself it was all in his head, but eventually, he realized it wasn't paranoia at all. It was reality. That's when he decided he needed to disappear for a while before the chaos completely consumed him. He packed up, walked away from the spotlight, and retreated back to his roots in Australia. There, he spent his days on a quiet farm, digging holes, fixing fences, helping cattle during calving season, just living like a regular person again. It was his way of grounding himself, escaping the madness of Hollywood and finding peace in something real. But now, the story takes a much darker turn, straight into the Epstein Files that recently dropped. These documents are setting off shockwaves because they connect directly to many of the same elite circles that Gibson had been warning about for years. One of the most jaw-dropping revelations involves Bill Clinton. The files expose deeper ties between Clinton, Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell than anyone had previously known. Newly released photos reportedly show Clinton relaxing in a pool and hot tub with Epstein and Maxwell, looking disturbingly casual. And according to victim testimony found in the documents, Epstein allegedly once said that Clinton likes them young, referring to girls, a direct quote from the files themselves. The same records confirm that Clinton invited Epstein to the White House several times, and that he flew on Epstein's private jet far more often than his representatives ever admitted. It's a revelation that completely dismantles years of official denial. The evidence is sitting right there, clear as day. And it's not just about politicians this time. The newly surfaced documents include never-before-seen photos showing some of the biggest names in music and film. We're talking Michael Jackson, Mick Jagger, Diana Ross, Kevin Spacey, Chris Tucker, and even Richard Branson, all appearing at Jeffrey Epstein's properties or private gatherings. While it's important to note that most of these figures haven't been accused of any crimes in the released files, their presence alone paints a picture of just how far Epstein's network reached into the highest corners of Hollywood and the music world. Epstein wasn't just mingling with celebrities, he was deeply embedded among them, forming relationships that crossed borders, industries, and even governments. And here's where things get even more suspicious. Right after these files were made public, people noticed that the Department of Justice quietly removed certain documents from their database. How does something that serious just disappear overnight? Critics are now pointing out that the files seem to be heavily redacted. Entire pages turn to black ink, as if they're protecting individuals who still hold major influence today. So naturally, the burning question becomes, what exactly are they hiding? And who are they trying to shield from exposure? This is where Mel Gibson's decades-old warnings start to make frightening sense, because this level of secrecy and power plays right into the disturbing reality he's been describing for years. And as we dig deeper, the connections only get darker.
One of the most disturbing problems in our world today is human trafficking, and particularly the trafficking of children. Our future is our children. Now, the first step in eradicating this crime is awareness. Go see some.
Mel Gibson didn't hold back when he spoke out about one of the darkest issues haunting Hollywood and beyond: human trafficking. He called it one of the most disturbing crises in the modern world and made it clear that the fight starts with awareness. In his own words, he said, "One of the most disturbing problems in our world today is human trafficking, particularly the trafficking of children. Our future is our children. The first step in eradicating this crime is awareness." That message hit hard, and it reminded people that the battle against this evil isn't just about headlines. It's about protecting innocence itself. After making that statement, Mel urged everyone to watch the film Sound of Freedom, a movie that pulled the curtain back on the dark realities of trafficking networks that often intersect with the entertainment world. He publicly supported the film, praising it for exposing what so many have tried to ignore. You'd think every major platform would jump at the chance to share a movie that shines a light on such an important issue, right? But that's where things get suspicious. When Sound of Freedom was released, Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon, three of the biggest streaming giants, all refused to promote it. They turned it down completely, offering no explanation, no marketing, and no platform support. These are the same companies that constantly push awareness for all sorts of social causes. Yet when it came to a movie about ending human trafficking, they went totally silent. Viewers were left stunned, wondering why a film about saving children from real-world horror wasn't getting the same treatment as other so-called important stories. The silence spoke louder than any words could. So why did every major platform suddenly turn their backs on Sound of Freedom? That's the million-dollar question. And the answer might be a lot darker than anyone expected. Here's the part most people don't know. The film actually started out under Disney's control. That's right, the House of Mouse originally owned the rights to it, but out of nowhere, the entire project was shelved. No official reason, no public explanation, just gone. This was confusing to everyone involved. The movie had everything going for it: a powerful story, a respected cast, and a mission that should have had universal support. By all logic, it should have been a green light from day one. But instead, Disney pulled the plug, and that decision set off a storm of rumors and speculation. Many began to suspect that there was more going on behind the scenes than what the public was being told. Whispers started spreading that some studios and streaming platforms didn't just pass on the movie, they buried it. Some believe this was an intentional move to keep the uncomfortable truth about child trafficking from reaching a global audience. And even more chilling, others think it was about protecting the powerful figures who benefit from the silence. Because let's be real, if an operation like that exists, the last thing those involved would want is a major film shining a spotlight on their crimes. So what's the best way to stop the world from waking up? You shut the message down before it ever reaches the screen. The entire situation left people questioning just how deep this cover-up might go. and whether the entertainment industry itself is part of the silence.
Propaganda in Hollywood movies is built into the ingredients list. It's like if you want flour, you're gonna have to get the meat. And if you want to be able to make movies about certain subjects, you have to be willing to work with some people. And it'd be nice if you made it so that this is what we're trying to accomplish, and this is showing the negative side of this other society, and this is this is our hero. Is our hero who's gonna go do America's bidding and go over there, and you're like, okay. And those movies are successful, and so they continue this relationship, and you become a bit of a propaganda arm for the government, and in turn they don't f with you.
Right, but that's what makes information so powerful. Is you don't care how people feel about the ritual. It's about just following the ritual work.
Yeah.
And so you can fool yourself into thinking there isn't one, but the evidence will be clear. So like when I be like, oh, these guys are wearing dresses, and everybody's like, oh, he keeps talking about people wearing dresses. No, it's not.
That is a weird thing.
It's not like that. Look at it from a different way. Look at it. Show me one person that ever wore a dress in Hollywood unsuccessfully. That's how you understand what a ritual is.
Now let's dig into just how deep the manipulation in Hollywood really goes, because it's darker and more deliberate than most people realize. Comedian Katt Williams and podcast host Joe Rogan once had a conversation that peeled back the layers of how the entertainment machine truly operates. And once you hear what they said, a lot of things start making sense. Joe Rogan described Hollywood like a giant system built on hidden deals and unspoken agreements. He said propaganda isn't just something that shows up randomly in movies. It's part of the recipe. If you want to make films about certain topics or tackle specific themes, you have to be willing to play by the rules. According to him, that means working with the same powerful groups that quietly influence what messages get pushed out. In Joe's words, it's basically a deal with the devil. You help spread their narrative, and in return, they let you succeed. They won't block your projects. They won't blacklist you, as long as you stay useful to their agenda. Then Katt Williams jumped in with a point that hit even harder. He said the real test in Hollywood isn't whether you like the system's strange rituals, but whether those rituals actually work. And he used one bold example that he's been criticized for over and over: the recurring image of men wearing dresses in comedy and film. Katt said, "When I talk about guys wearing dresses in Hollywood, everybody says, oh, he keeps talking about that. But show me one person who wore a dress in Hollywood and didn't end up successful." And when you really stop and think about it, he's not wrong. Time and time again, major male comedians and actors who took part in that so-called ritual saw their careers skyrocket right afterward. It's like an unspoken initiation, a strange, repeating pattern that seems to reward those who go along with it. Whether it's symbolic, psychological, or just power play, the outcome is always the same. Those who comply rise fast, and those who refuse get pushed out. That kind of pattern isn't just coincidence. It feels calculated. And speaking of strange patterns, something really odd came up with the latest Epstein document release. People online started pointing out a bizarre detail that's got everyone scratching their heads. Have you noticed how it seems like everyone in Hollywood either showed up in Epstein's circle or Diddy's, but never both? It's almost like these two operated on opposite ends of the same power spectrum, connected, but never crossing paths. It's weird, right? You'd think that with both men surrounded by celebrities, business moguls, and political figures, their guest lists would have overlapped at least once, but nope. While nearly every big name from Epstein's world was caught at his mansions or island, Diddy's crowd was a completely different lineup. It's like they were magnetic opposites, repelling each other from ever being in the same room. And honestly, that separation raises even more suspicion. Why were their worlds kept so far apart? Was it coincidence or by design? When you look at how deep these networks go, that missing link between their circles might actually be one of the biggest red flags yet.
I'll tell you that the #1 problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be, that's the biggest problem for children in this industry.
The casting couch even applies to children.
Oh yeah, not in the same way. It's all done under the radar.
Nobody talks about pedophilia.
It's the big secret.
And it's widespread?
Oh yeah, I was surrounded by them when I was 14 years old. Surrounded, literally. Didn't even know it. It wasn't until I was old enough to realize what they were and what they wanted and what they were about and the types of people that were surrounding me till I went, oh my God, they were everywhere like vultures.
Vultures who Feldman says abused him and his best friend, the late child actor Corey Haim, his co-star in The Lost Boys.
Well, what happens if my mom is dating the head vampire?
Feldman says the trauma of that contributed to Haim's death.